For about 50 years now, NASA has not sent astronauts to the moon's surface. However, in May of the previous year, NASA announced that it had selected 11 aerospace companies to study and produce prototypes for a human landing system. This decision came in the bid to successfully launch astronauts for NASA's Artemis mission, intended for 2024. At the end of the day, NASA only contracted 3 commercial spaceflight companies, including SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Dynetics, working to develop a spacecraft that will enable astronauts to build a permanent base on the lunar surface. SpaceX was awarded a $135 million contract by NASA to further develop a lunar-optimized variant of the Starship spacecraft it intends to send to Mars. In this video, we'll take you through the SpaceX human landing system revealed, prototype, and other steps that have been taken by this aerospace company. Stay until the end of the video so you don't miss out on any of the crazy details, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Now, let's begin. Recently, pictures of a SpaceX Starship prototype surfaced on the internet. This white-colored Starship prototype features NASA's antique logo alongside a United States flag. SpaceX is currently working on a modified version of their commercial vehicle, Starship, as a human landing system for missions to the lunar surface in the coming years. As we all know, that SpaceX is the face of sustainability. The prototype for the moon landing generally seems to shuffle the air with a little bit of confusion, because it actually shows no heat shield for atmospheric re-entry, and this leaves the question of whether the SpaceX Starship will be able to return to Earth at all. This human landing system, according to SpaceX, however, will be a fully reusable system, which is capable of integrating with the Lunar Gateway as well as the Orion spacecraft. As a matter of fact, while it is still in development, I should add that the SpaceX lunar-optimized Starship does not feature any aerodynamic fin to control descent for Earth landing. As there are growing questions in your mind about why the Starship was built in this confusing manner, I should add that unlike other contracted human landing systems, the Starship is built for landing humans as well as cargo, reaching about 100 metric tons of cargo. In contrast, the other 2 contracted human landing systems might just be able to transport about 5 to 10 tons of payload. To apparently support their intentional design, SpaceX said its Starship for the Artemis moon landing can fly a lot times between the moon's surface and lunar orbit without flaps or heat shielding required for Earth return. With a large habitable and storage volume, the Starship is capable of delivering significant amounts of cargo for research and support robust operations on the lunar surface to enable a sustainable moon base. I'm sure we can go on to conclude that SpaceX is not just building a human landing system, but also building a sustainable human landing system that could go on to serve as a long-term base for astronauts and researchers on the moon's surface. Last year, the SpaceX chief engineer Elon Musk explained how the lunar-optimized Starship would need to undergo modifications to successfully land on the moon. He mentioned that the company will work on the new legs, which will give space for a larger stance as well as aid automatic leveling to make it easier to lean into the wind and land on the rocky and pitted moon surface. However, Elon Musk described the legs as one of the hardest problems, and once the legs are mounted externally, they will definitely need shielding, which will add more mass to the Starship. In truth, other landing solutions will add mass, but Elon Musk has specifically mentioned that no other option will do the trick than better legs. The forward thrusters will help further stabilize the ship when landing in high winds. He concluded that there isn't actually any need to bring the first ships back to Earth because they can serve as a mini moon base. The SpaceX prototype designed for the moon, however confusing, will be able to deliver maximum payload to the moon without flaps or even big gas thruster packs. As a single-stage solution, prototype Starship will be lifted and thrusted into space by the Super Heavy booster, and the Starship would further accelerate on its own into orbital velocity with its vacuum Raptor engines. If you've been following the test flights, SpaceX has been using their sea-level Raptor engines because they've been testing flights without payload, therefore erasing the need for the Super Heavy booster. While the sea-level Raptor engines have been captured at the base of the prototype Starship, they might never be used to land on Earth. This is because the Starship has been developed for single travel to the moon's surface, and these Raptor engines are there to assist its landing on any surface. While the news of creating a sustainable habitat sounds pleasing, you should not forget that another block to Starship reaching the lunar surface is refueling. Standing at 394 feet, the Starship will journey to the moon for up to 6 to 7 days, and while they might fill it up with the required fuel to begin the journey, I believe there will be reason to refuel for a successful landing. As a matter of fact, NASA already awards SpaceX some $53.2 million contract just to demonstrate how the Starship will be refueled in space. Under the contract, SpaceX will demonstrate a large-scale flight to NASA, where it will transfer 10 metric tons of cryogenic propellant, which is specifically liquid oxygen, between two Starship tanks. The idea is to actually launch multiple Starships, with some made only to top up others while in orbit. Economically speaking, Starship reusability as well as orbital refueling is critical to transporting a large number of crew members and cargo to the Moon and Mars when the time comes. Once the Starship in orbit has separated from its super heavy booster, two other Starship vehicles, one a tanker and the other a propellant storage vehicle, would launch to deliver the fresh propellant to the Starship human landing system, which would then propel itself and continue the journey towards the Moon. With enough and extensive volume of space for the crew, the Starship also contains two airlocks, which will give the vehicle the capability to transport close to 4 suited astronauts for moonwalks. Furthermore, on the side of the Starship are two oblong-shaped apertures, in approximately 2/3 of their way up from the main thrusters. While questions are being asked of the need of these apertures, more pictures have been revealed of these apertures emitting light, or perhaps thrust. While Musk has not specifically said anything about them, I have a hard time coming to believe that they're just there to assist the spacecraft when it needs to land on parts of the Moon where sunlight isn't reaching. As a matter of fact, the expanded capabilities of the Starship provides NASA an impressive and improved flexibility, as well as a standard mission effectiveness for the 2024 landing mission and other missions. Proudly, test flights have reached about 500 meters into the air, and now SpaceX plans to teach close to 50,000 meters with its next test flight model. In late 2022, a NASA lunar lander bound for the Moon's south pole will launch on a SpaceX rocket. Early in the previous year, NASA chose Mastern Space Systems to manage the delivery of about 8 different payloads to the Moon's pole, as a part of the agency's Artemis program. Mastern has in turn hired SpaceX to launch its XL-1 lunar lander for the delivery. As a matter of fact, SpaceX will be directly involved in launches of payloads to the lunar surface, and this will in fact be the second installment of NASA's lunar delivery program. Interestingly, the instruments will absolutely focus on tasks such as mapping the Moon's composition and temperature, sampling nearby materials, and photographing the lunar geology as research. Another little bit of information is that the lander will also carry a small rover, which will search for signs of water on the Moon. Wow, do you think water is still on the Moon? Let us know your answer in the comment section below. While NASA has not yet officially picked its wanted human landing system, which it will in the coming months, it is safe to say that amongst others, the SpaceX human landing system might be the most feasible. Although the agency clearly outlined that the SpaceX human landing system might be risky, it is however not in any doubt that a lot of contributing factors, including economic relevance, sustainability, and reusability, will be much considered. The Starship, in all its specifications, among the other two contracted, is the only one that can go on multiple journeys between the lunar surface and the lunar orbit without ever destroying any of its parts. This reusability, in fact, puts SpaceX ahead. Although to be fair, a source selection statement from NASA last year outlined that SpaceX had the weakest ejectable rating out of the 3 selected companies. The technical and managerial ratings were dubbed acceptable, while the other 2 companies, Blue Origin and Dynetics, were tagged acceptable and very good. In fact, the capabilities of the SpaceX Starship were tagged to meet or exceed all of NASA's threshold values for functional and performance requirements. The design actually supports NASA's long-term lunar explorational plans, as the agency emphasizes on sustainability and much longer stays on the lunar surface. The Starship has immediately incorporated sustainable capabilities, and the SpaceX proposal actually provides substantial mission design flexibility, alongside reducing the time and cost associated with changing into sustainable phase mission operations. Still in development though, the SpaceX human landing system will undergo early and numerous ground and test flight system demonstrations to reduce technical risks, and also meet up with the scheduled date for final flight. The test program will go from a flight of Starship into low orbit, and then an uncrewed lunar landing in 2022.
I didn't realize there was this big battle going on.
It's like,
I didn't know.
The year 2020 recorded a huge leap in the energy sector, as a lot of people began to find energy cheaper than the regular electricity from gas-powered plants that in turn tends to affect climate change. While the world is constantly tilting towards a far more sustainable future, Tesla Energy, ahead of lots of companies, has attracted attention from various investors as it has significantly reduced the cost of its energy supply. Through this video, you will understand how Tesla will take over the energy sector, which will in turn help triple the company's valuation. So, get a drink, sit tight, and enjoy, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more quality content. You ready? Let's begin. The growth of Tesla's automotive sector actually influenced over 700% boost in stock price over the course of last year. And this came as a result of the company's overwhelming success in its automotive side. Tesla, as we all know, isn't the only automotive business, but is also an energy distributing company. However, the energy business got pushed to the sidelines for the fact that the automotive business was growing exponentially. Experts of industry trends have actually placed emphasis on Tesla's energy sector, and as a matter of fact, a particular venture capitalist recently promoted that once the company's energy business takes off, the market capitalization will double and furthermore triple due to the demand. Tesla, as a distributed energy company, focuses on harnessing and storing energy, which creates the avenue that will allow humans productively make use of it. While the cars are a manifestation that the company is actually working towards a sustainable future, their solar panels as well as power walls are further indications that Tesla means well. The company's established itself as a major player in the alternative energy business, but over the years, attention has been moved away from its energy distribution to its vehicles, which are the most popular electric vehicles in the world. Currently, with new trends, investors have come to be well aware of the impacts that the company has had on the social energy and energy storage market. In the third quarter of 2020, Tesla saw a 111% increase in solar, with 57 megawatts deployed, which cannot be compared to the 27 in the second quarter of 2020. Furthermore, the company reported an 81% increase in energy storage, moving from 419 megawatt-hour to 759 megawatt-hour in Q2 and Q3 respectively. Additionally, the company has also been able to cut the cost of its solar panels, making them much cheaper than the national average cost. One major problem that a lot of companies have is the fact that their products remain costly due to the reason that they have not been able to cut off the soft costs. In case you don't know, Tesla has been able to make its solar program extra affordable because it has easily cut off soft costs, which includes most especially salespeople. Apart from the fact that I strongly believe that Tesla's energy business will boom in the coming years, a particular long-time Tesla investor is actually also keen on the idea of the energy business taking off. While the world is coming to realize the importance of sustenance, the support for alternative energy is growing, and it has placed Tesla as the lead company to a sustainable future, most especially when you consider their solar panels and energy storage options, which are more affordable than other competitive options. The energy generation infrastructure of the world is such that it has trillions of dollars, bonds, and value. Once the world finally relaxes on energy, Tesla will undoubtedly triple its valuation. In January, Tesla's share price rose more than $880, which made Elon Musk the richest man in the world, and according to Chamath P., who is the ex-Facebook executive, the richest person in the world should be someone that's fighting for climate change? Well, what do you think of that? Let me know in the comments section down below, and I'll be sure to respond. If Tesla's shares rise to 3 times their current price, Elon Musk might go on to become the very first trillionaire ever. Chamath, the founder of the venture firm Social Capital, has a pretty impressive track record. He was once a Facebook executive. He was an early investor in Slack and Box and went on to help make Virgin Galactic a public company. When he was asked why he thinks Elon Musk might have greater riches in the future, he did not simply place emphasis on reasons one might expect, such as Musk being a cult figure or some extremely hardworking fellow. He promoted something very much simpler, which was that Tesla and his CEO are working against climate change. Interestingly, Tesla is a company of figuring out how to harvest, store, and use energy. In case you don't know, delivering clean energy allows the world to become sustainable, and it is a really important thing that will be rewarded by markets, as well as individuals accordingly. Migrating the effects and reducing climate change perhaps is the greatest difficulty plaguing humanity today, and businesses such as Tesla, who have effectively sought to tackle this challenge, will and no doubt see their values appreciate. Despite a rather tumultuous year, 2020 witnessed a boom in clean energy, and as a matter of fact, this trend will most likely not end there. While a number of larger institutional investors have been, for decades, splashing cash on larger scale renewable energy projects, the attraction of clean energy as an investment currently spreads like wildfire, even to individual retail investors. News stories have reported that solar power in fact comes more cheaper than electricity generated by gas-fired power plants. And this has cemented the beliefs of various investors that renewable energy will undoubtedly replace the usage of fossil fuels over the coming years. A particular report recorded that small investors accounted for about $80.5 billion of flows into sustainable funds during the third quarter. Over the last couple of years, and still counting, Tesla has supplied energy to homes, businesses, and utilities by selling solar panels, solar roofing, and battery storage packs, popularly known as the Powerwall, Powerpack, and Megapack. In the long term, perhaps Tesla Energy could roughly grow to the same size as Tesla's automotive business. As we rightly know, Tesla's energy business is actually not standing alone, as it is part of a broader ecosystem. But despite this, I believe that Tesla is poised for a really crazy growth in the coming days, weeks, months, and even years. On the flip side, Tesla's solar business has been associated with more negative news than positive in recent years. Once, the company faced a lawsuit from the shareholders over its controversial 2016 purchase of Solar City. Personally, I think there is a lack of understanding and appreciation of the growth of Tesla's energy sector. Tesla's inclusion in the S&P 500 came as a historic moment for the clean energy industry, where despite its criticism, the electric vehicle and clean energy company proved to achieve a high valuation among stock market investors, and you shouldn't be surprised when they say that the company is at the verge of transforming the clean energy sector. While wind and solar have been major drivers of the clean energy theme, electric cars as well as battery or energy storage are also currently contributing to the sustainable future we want. Tesla's solar program has, without an iota of doubt, become the most affordable solar in the United States, and this is ascribed to the numerous developments in the company's energy sector. In the second quarter of 2020 earnings call, the CEO, Elon Musk, stated that Tesla's solar panels were now 30% cheaper than the US average. However, the method the company employed to get to that point boils down to efficiency and unique understanding within its energy sector. A video in the previous year revealed a breakdown of Tesla's solar program, and how the company successfully managed to slash the prices of its solar panels to suit the need of customers in the US. Despite the fact that the United States has the most expensive rates for solar panels and energy production in the world, Tesla managed to cut the price per watt. As earlier mentioned, the company's strategy to eliminate costs was simply as they cut out wages for sales representatives and allowed people to order their solar online. In case you might be wondering, the reason that the United States solar prices are increasing is because the soft costs of installing the infrastructure on a business or place of residence are highly unbearable. Soft costs, as a matter of fact, are the non-component costs of the system. These costs actually include permits, inspections, as well as hiring salespeople, which could add up to $1 per watt on every installation. As $1 might not sound like really much, if we place it in the grand scheme of things, however, it could make solar supply unaffordable for quite a lot. What then is the use if the majority find it difficult to afford? As an example, if there is a family that lives in about a 2,500 square foot home, they would most likely need a Tesla 8.16 kilowatt system. And if Tesla had not cut off soft costs, that apparently had nothing to do with the system itself, the family would have been subjected to at least an extra $8,160 price of the infrastructure itself. Interestingly, due to the dynamic incentives through the federal and local tax credits, investors who then choose to invest in Tesla's solar panel system will spend some 30% less than the national average. The company's simple online ordering process has so much helped in several ways. The lowered prices on the company's products have assisted the growth of the business, and in turn has aided to increase the stock market value over the last couple of months or year. The solar infrastructure and its affordability has debunked the myth that powering homes from the sun is expensive, and the need for a sustainable future has placed the company in a position where its energy sector will witness a significant boom and thereby will possibly triple its valuation. Elon Musk's space company SpaceX has made some serious decisions lately, and it looks like they may discontinue use of one of their space rockets. Specifically, it's the Falcon Heavy that will no longer be in use. This is a bit of news about the Heavy that may be really surprising for the space community due to how successful the Falcon Heavy has been to date. Make sure you watch until the end of the video to find out all the information we've researched for you, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. The Falcon Heavy is simply put a beast. It's one of the most powerful rockets ever created. It's the third tallest rocket in production and only comes behind NASA's mighty Saturn V and the former Soviet Union's ill-fated N-1. It stands at a height of 230 feet and is even considered to be the most powerful booster of this century. Payloads of up to 141,000 pounds, 64 metric tons, can be launched with it, and it uses 2 side boosters and a central core in its launches. The rocket is based on SpaceX's Falcon 9 design. The Falcon Heavy has 27 engines on its first stage and generates more than 5 million pounds of force of thrust at liftoff. That is about the same force of 18 Boeing 747 jumbo jets at full power. One of the exciting things about the Falcon Heavy is that its first stage of side boosters are built to return to Earth. Their synchronized landing is an amazing sight. SpaceX has spent about 7 years developing this rocket, yet it has only been launched 3 times. There have been promises of more flights for a while, but unfortunately it's possible that the Falcon Heavy will only fly a few more times. The exact number is not certain, but it definitely will remain in single digits. So what went wrong with SpaceX's vision for this rocket? One of the reasons could be the altering of the production timeline. The Falcon Heavy is really not easy to create. That is why there have been some hitches in the estimated production and launch times. The Falcon Heavy was announced by Elon Musk in 2011. Its original payload capacity was 117 pounds. He predicted that the rocket's first flight would be in 2013. We could have judged by normal standards that it would take double that time to launch, so we could have guessed that the launch would have happened at most by the end of 2015. That debut test ended up being delayed by 5 years, and on February 6, 2018, the rocket made its maiden voyage. It carried Musk's Tesla Roadster and a mannequin named Starman. This particular delay was most likely enhanced by issues with the Falcon 9 in 2015 and 2016. So, although SpaceX was making remarkable progress, Falcon 9 needed to be fixed first. The Falcon 9 issues were near catastrophic. In 2015, a Falcon 9 rocket disintegrated soon after it was launched. It was going on a space station resupply mission for NASA. Elon Musk said the disintegration was likely caused by a faulty strut inside the booster's upper stage. Not long after, in 2016, another Falcon 9 rocket exploded on the launch pad. This also destroyed the rocket's commercial payload. The payload was an Amos 6 communication satellite for Spacecom. It was worth a whopping $195 million. The recurring issues with the Falcon 9 had to be resolved quickly. The Falcon 9 was SpaceX's highest means of raising revenue, hence they had to restore consumer confidence. This led to a new Falcon Heavy launch date being set for 2017. Other delays then pushed it to its actual early 2018 launch date. The Falcon Heavy rocket launch was beautiful, and it was even called one of the most iconic rocket launches in history. This was a sight to behold. But there was a slight hitch. The core booster failed to land and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. That aside, this launch helped SpaceX line up 2 Falcon Heavy commercial launches. These were set to happen later in 2018, but ended up taking place in the middle of 2019, while the last one took place on June 25th, 2019. When compared to the Falcon 9, the Falcon Heavy is a more expensive venture. The Falcon 9 cost $62 million to launch. On the other hand, the Falcon Heavy cost upwards of $90 million to launch. Of course, the Falcon Heavy is clearly better in value, and it can lift 3 times the Falcon 9 payload. That could justify the 1.5 times price difference. However, the difference in payloads between the two is similar, because the fairings are nearly the same size. The Falcon Heavy could offer an advantage when there is an item with a high density that the Falcon 9 is unable to handle. However, that rarely happens. Another situation could be if the customer wants to launch their device much deeper into space. To lower Earth orbit, the Falcon 9 can only carry 22,800 kilograms, 50,265 pounds. Meanwhile, Falcon 9 can carry more than that, 26,700 kilograms, 58,840 pounds, to geostationary transfer orbit. In reality, very few customers actually want to reach GTO. SpaceX launches a Falcon 9 about every 2 weeks. While commercial launches may not be as frequent, We are used to this pace. This frequency is because SpaceX has launched their Starlight satellite into orbit. With clients not being as frequent, it's easy to see why Falcon Heavy would be ignored. One now starts to wonder why the Falcon Heavy was built at all. SpaceX and Musk are not known to make decisions on a whim. The answer? Crewed space missions. The original design of the Falcon Heavy was to be able to take astronauts to the moon and potentially even Mars. The Falcon 9 really isn't capable of conducting crewed missions. Its payload capacity to Mars is just 4,020 kilograms, 8,860 pounds. This looks large, but it's actually quite small. Think of all the supplies, months of supplies, sleeping areas, and even exercise equipment among other things. You'll see that the Falcon 9 isn't really that reasonable for Mars missions. We have to remember that a mission to Mars will need several supply missions beforehand. Then the crew mission would start. Now the Falcon Heavy realistically wouldn't make all the trips at once. However, you can carry about 4 times the Falcon 9 payload to Mars on the Falcon Heavy. The Falcon Heavy Mars payload is up to 16,800 kilograms, 37,040 pounds. This is if you can fit it into the fairings, but they could also use bigger fairings if needed. The Falcon Heavy was obviously expected to make easier supply runs. As of 2017, SpaceX was still considering using it for crewed missions to the moon. SpaceX had planned to send 2 astronauts on a 1-week flight around the moon. Elon Musk shut down the idea in 2018, and he completely scrapped using the Falcon Heavy for crewed missions. This decision was in favor of using the soon-to-become big Falcon rocket, BFR, or what is now known as the Starship rocket. This then gave us another reason why the Falcon Heavy is being ditched. The Starship is being developed very quickly. Falcon Heavy is far lower in performance on every front when compared to the Starship. In payload capacity, Starship is expected to carry about 220,000 pounds, 100 plus tons, into lower Earth orbit. This is about 1.5 times that of Falcon Heavy. Starship is theoretically supposed to refuel in space while heading to Mars, and this would help it carry the full payload to Mars. Starship looks more attractive when we consider payload volume. Falcon Heavy fairing has a diameter of 17.1 feet, while its height is 43 feet. This gives it a payload volume of almost 10,000 cubic feet, while Starship's volume is almost 4 times that at 38,800 cubic feet. The last straw for Falcon Heavy is in its launch comparison. We've mentioned before that Falcon Heavy costs about $90 million to launch. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has said that the Starship may cost only about $2 million. Let's say he's being conservative. By standards, the Starship would likely cost no more than $10 million per launch. Consider that Starship has 6 times the payload capacity and 1/9 times the cost of Falcon Heavy. This means that Starship is 54 times more efficient than the Falcon Heavy, and it makes it a logical decision to wait and use Starship. Not just for lower Earth orbit satellite launches, it's also perfect for supply trips to Mars, which would take away the use of the Falcon Heavy. While these disadvantages exist, SpaceX hasn't given up on the Falcon Heavy quite yet. Falcon Heavy is Elon Musk's backup plan. He says he's ready to carry out crewed missions with it. This would only be if Starship production takes longer than he expects. However, Starship development seems to have been going well so far. Despite Starship SN8 landing failure, they are constantly preparing for more future prototype Starships, which are expected to only gather more needed data for future Starship missions. Taking place in Boca Chica, a heavy booster prototype is being developed quickly by SpaceX. They may possibly reach orbit with Starship by the end of this year because of this. It would be more realistic to look towards 2022 or 2023, though, which is not too far away. This also makes it impossible that the Falcon Heavy would be used for crewed missions. Maybe the Falcon Heavy could still be useful for NASA-funded research missions. There was an announcement to that effect in early 2020. NASA wants to use Falcon Heavy in a mission to a metal-rich asteroid. This is set to happen in 2022 and will make use of Falcon Heavy's outstanding work for a few more years, where it would probably be retired after the missions. Falcon Heavy just took too long to produce. That, combined with its very specific market and purpose, makes it a very hard sell. Starship is definitely coming to take its throne, and that's why launches have been few and far between. Will SpaceX be able to meet up with the Starship demand? Will Falcon Heavy be totally lost? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching one of our videos. While you're here, go ahead and click on one of these 2 videos on your screen. See you there.